I think in a lot of situations now that we've seen 3 consecutive games, Saquon hasn't come close to the century mark. They're going to have to come out throwing the football first. You got to throw the football to loosen them up. And Petula, I think that'll help get a lot of people off his back also, because the umbrella of weapons they have across the board. And what Goddard had 1 catch for a touchdown, and he's not 100% healthy. So if you get him healthy and you got this umbrella of weapons, and every now and then you got Dotson contributing, you're going to have a lot of teams backing off. And when they back off, boom, Saquon killed him, 7, 8, 9 yards. So, Petula, call the Rams defensive coordinator and say, hey, thank you for what you did for me today, because you got a lot of people off my back here in Philadelphia, at least for a moment.
I was born to be a fighter, had these dreams and desires. I would be something better, energy, got a fire in my soul to keep burning, a pain that keep hurting, a curse is emerging, feel the thirst, keep on working, I won't stop, I won't quit, to the top of this shit, I get lost in the work, sweat dripping, not a bitch, I get mad, I get pissed, I get after this shit, hit the gas, feel the grip, adrenaline, never miss, I'm not patient, but I've learned to embrace it, cause I've been working, I've been waiting, never complacent, cause I'm so close I can taste it, wanted away from everything I've been chasing. I'm honest and I promise that I got this. I'm launching, all I've wanted has been exhausting. I'll teach you how to harness, control the conscious. You got this, yeah you got this, you gotta want it. Life ain't fair, are you gonna win or is the place scared? I will not stop, I am prepared to get to the top, yeah you must be beware. Got 'em like hey, I will not
so it is. Fly, Eagles, fly. Till next time, I love all you guys. Thank you for supporting the channel. And go Birds. Like,
I will not stop, I am prepared to get to the top, and you must beware. Got 'em like.
What up, Eagles Nation? It's your boy BIRDGANG 31 in the building. The Eagles just had a thrilling win against the Rams, and I had to get my boy Chris McPherson on with me so we can talk some Eagles football. How you doing today, Chris?
Outstanding, BG. It's funny because we had scheduled this last week, and the way things were going in that first half, I'm like, BG is going to be waiting for me Tuesday, come hell or high water. So either way, we got to be doing this show. So the fact that the Eagles came back, overcame a 19-point deficit, the largest since the 2010 miracle at the New Meadowlands. Can you believe it or not?
That is crazy.
A little bit nicer vibes to be coming on the show. It was funny because I was sprinting to get on here. I talked with Malcolm Jenkins for a story that we're going to run on Philadelphia.com and the mobile app in a little bit. And he's picked up he's pursuing a hobby of being a photographer. And he was on the sideline. I don't know if you saw the video. It's been going viral. Yeah, where he posted some of his pictures, and there's video of him capturing that Jordan Davis block. And I was just asking him, the first question was just your reaction. And he said, I'm not surprised by the end result. You could feel the vibe in the stadium, the tide turning in the Eagles' favor. And watching the field goal unit, you could sense that there's a chance, they have a chance to block a kick at the end there. He did not expect, though, the big man, Jordan Davis, to pick up the ball and rumble, 61 yards for the touchdown to make it a 33-26 final. So make sure you check out that article. Malcolm is one of my all-time favorite players I've covered here in my 20-plus years of covering the Philadelphia Eagles. So it was great to get his insight on the team and, his new pursuit of what he's doing post-football.
Hey, congratulations to Malcolm. Hope he becomes the best photographer of all time. He definitely did some great things for us, man. You gotta tell me the truth, though. Were you a little scared? Because for a minute, I'm not going to lie. Jalen throw the touchdown. Smitty gets it. I'm like, yes. For a minute there, the way they were moving that football, because it just gave me, I guess PTSD from like games. Like, remember when we played the Seahawks and they drove right back down and scored on us? You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like one of those situations where it's like they were moving the ball pretty good. They're like, oh, he needs so many yards for field goal range. They got more yards than that, Mark. And I was like, oh, man, please, please, please. I'm just sitting on the couch just like praying to the football gods that he missed this kick. And then, at that moment, I was like, you know what? Something's telling me some good things. And sure enough, Jordan, it was when I seen Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis talking to each other. Like right before the kick, they have a clip and it shows them talking to each other. It's like they kind of knew what they wanted to do since they blocked one earlier in the game. They kind of knew what they wanted to do to make sure they could get some pressure in this one. And once you block one kick, you 9 times out of 10 you're not blocking 2 in a game. But we did it and we got that win. And then like you said, Jordan Davis, man, I've been telling people all year long that this might be the year. And I won't say, everybody's like, stop saying it, but I'm gonna say this might be the year Jordan Davis is our best defensive tackle. You know what I'm saying? Because the way he's been playing since the end of last season, him slimming down, him playing double what he played last year, you see the difference in the impact because Jalen Carter is a great defensive tackle, but Jordan Davis is bigger. You know what I'm saying? Like he demands double teams from his size alone. If he add this athleticism and skill and all that stuff to what he already had, it's like, he was already the best run stopping DT on our team. If he got some pass rushing moves and got some pressure moves added to that repertoire, then I thought for sure for this season only, I'm not saying he's better than Jalen Carter. I'm just saying that, I think he might be the head guy this year in that defensive alignment room.
I'm just happy for Jordan Davis because the hard work has paid off. And it was Bo Wolf. We were talking about some of the former PhiladelphiaEagles.com alums, Bo Wolf and Fran Duffy, before we got on the program here, BG. Yeah. And Bo Wolf asked a really interesting question to Jordan Davis in training camp about what it's like having fans so infatuated with your body weight. And it's really interesting. It's something that you're personally battling it. It's something that he's obviously been having to deal with since he came into the NFL. And to be constantly always asked every question, are you in better shape? Are you better conditioned? Can you handle this? Can you handle that? He was so much more confident at the start of training camp. And you saw that translate to the football field where he was making plays in training camp practice day in and day out, being disruptive, getting in the backfield. And you figure that if you could put that alongside Jalen Carter from a defensive standpoint, you certainly would be able to offset the loss of Milton Williams from last season, which was going to be a very big underrated loss for this defense. But the Eagles saw what he did at the end of last season, Jordan Davis, and put the faith in him to say, we're going to give him the 5th-year option. Okay, we're going to exercise it, and we believe in him. We believe in the person. We believe in the player. We believe he's in the right mind frame, the right environment to be able to be a difference maker finally. Because for this position, for whatever reason, Vic Fangio was asked about today during his press conference. Why does it take defensive tackles usually a couple of years to be able to get up to speed to make a difference? And Vic said there's no universal one answer that is a silver bullet across the board. The one thing I say is going from college to the NFL, you're playing a man's game. And if you look at offensive lines, typically those are veteran players. Those are grown men playing that position. The speed is different. The physicality is different. All those different things combined, it takes a little bit longer for a Jordan Davis who maybe was dominant at Georgia because you're not playing a guy who's going to be playing on Sundays. You are so much more athletically gifted. Now you're playing against offensive linemen who have immense athletic talent, but they have the technique and the experience on top of it that it takes some time. And it took some growth from a mental standpoint for Jordan Davis to get his body in the right shape that it needs to be to play at this level. We saw Jalen Carter do it where he was playing basically 75 to 80% of the snaps game in and game out last season. We are seeing Jordan Davis not be able to play just longer, but to be able to play effective as he's playing longer. That's a big question. You would see the moments, you would see the flash plays last season. There were different moments here and there. I think a lot of people were bringing up the sack of Josh Allen, where he's able to down from behind in the 2023 season. So you had those glimpses, but it's going to be, can he do it consistently if you're being out there 40, 50 plus snaps every single game? And then you saw he was able to track down Matthew Stafford for the sack. And then when the game was on the line, he and Jalen Carter saw something with that field goal unit, plus the Rams were a little depleted along the offensive line. So they had moved some pieces around and they were able to take advantage of that field goal block. And, the Eagles, going back to Malcolm Jenkins, who I mentioned a few moments ago, have star players willing, wanting to play on special teams. Usually it's considered the third unit of the game where, okay, you get some role players in there, But you look at the guys who are playing on special teams for the Eagles, and this goes back to when the Eagles won Super Bowl 52. You're getting a lot of your starters. You're getting a lot of your quality guys out there contributing. And Jalen Carter said it to me after the game. Why wouldn't you want to be out there? Because you only need to win by 1 point in the NFL. You win by 1 point, you win the game. If a field goal is going to make that difference, I should be out there on the field. And he and Jordan Davis showed why on Sunday.
Yeah, as that, and also you just got to realize what Jordan Davis was at, Georgia. He was a big guy. He was even way bigger than what he is now. You know what I'm saying? And he wasn't asked to play so much. You know what I'm saying? You got to realize Georgia played probably 5 good teams a year. In terms of SEC college football, they play 5 good, like big caliber teams a year. The rest are just, divisional games that aren't really meaningful for those guys. And he wasn't really asked with all that talent in Georgia. And I just felt like once he got to the pros, it was going to take some time for him to lose all that weight. Every year we come back with Jordan Davis in his weight, and he's saying he's lost a little, he lost a little. You know what I'm saying? To the point now where he's finally hit that sweet spot, 330 or whatever it is, and he's actually playing at a high level, man. I think, like you said, it takes time. Everybody's body's different. Everybody's mentality is different. What his usage was only like 50% of the time, at Georgia. So of course, when he got to the pros, he was going to be, take his body a while to really adjust to playing more. When he wasn't really asked to do that in college at a high level, when he played for a big time school like that. So I'm just happy he's made it there. All 3 games, I could say I've seen Jordan Davis, pop out on film. In terms of the run game, in terms of the pass game, getting pressure on there, he got the sack now. I just think the sky's the limit for that guy. But like you said, what was better for you, seeing the Eagles beat Patty Mahomes and the Chiefs 3 times in a row, or beating the Rams the 3 times in a row in the calendar year?
The Chiefs won the Super Bowl, so that was the most important. And the Chiefs was also vindication from losing a Super Bowl that they should have won back in 2022. So I think there was more of a disgust, a dislike there for the longest time. I'll tell you this, BG, my first year full-time covering the team was 2004 when they lost to the Patriots in Super Bowl 39. So for the longest time after that, I despised the Patriots. And everyone would say Cowboys are the number 1 hated rival. For me personally, just because of how close the Eagles got to the Super Bowl, and it was Tom Brady and Bill Belichick that kept them from getting over the hump, for me, it was the Patriots. So knocking them off in the Super Bowl was great, sweet vindication. Losing to the Chiefs in the manner in which they did, a game that they led in the second half, the turf field was terrible and neutralized the Eagles pass rush, which we saw made all the difference in Super Bowl 59. Losing on that questionable call on James Bradbury, and then the last second field goal with the way that Jalen Hurts played. In many ways, that loss set the Eagles up for the domination that they had back in February in New Orleans, because you knew when you went down there on that trip, that whole week they were taking care of business. This was strictly a business trip. And not that it wasn't 2 years ago in Arizona, but there was just a different level of intensity and focus that nothing was going to stop them this time around. And they came out from the jump, poured it on them, and the rest is all history from there. So the Rams, it's interesting that the Eagles have dominated this rivalry. And this goes back to, you look at and it's been some very memorable games. 2017 was the Carson Wentz injury game, that the Eagles had to rally to win and clinch the division. 2018, the Rams were riding high, but the Eagles upset them with Nick Foles at quarterback and got themselves back in the playoff race. So the Eagles have, for the most part, dominated this rivalry. And you figure that Sunday had to mean so much to the Rams because of the way that they lost the regular season, having Saquon run up and down the field on them. Back in late January, Saquon again running up and down the field on them, but also Matthew Stafford having the chance at the end to potentially win the game and Jalen Carter taking it from them, that you figured that the revenge factor was going to be huge for them. And the Rams did everything in their power to set themselves up for the win, but they just weren't aggressive enough in certain situations where they settled for field goals. They didn't
Yeah.
go for it on 4th down. The Eagles were so fortunate to only be down, with 19-7 at halftime. And then even after the Jalen Hurts fumble and that the next play the Rams get the touchdown, I had a sense of peace. I was like, okay, the Rams have literally thrown their best haymaker.
Yes.
The Eagles still have a chance. Now, the Eagles, I think, did the right thing in putting Fred Johnson in at right tackle to help solidify the line. They also went aggressive on the aerial attack, and we saw what Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Smitty, all of them were able to do. It's very reminiscent to me, BG, of basically it's kind of eerily similar because last year, week 4, the Eagles lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they go into the bye week 2-2, and it was crestfallen, lots of questions about the direction of the team at that point. And during that bye week, the Eagles realized from an offensive philosophical standpoint, they need to lean on the offensive line and lean on Saquon Barkley and ride him to the historic season that he had, the historic season the offense ended up having, and have only lost one game since. And that was a game that Jalen Hurts was injured in and didn't finish.
Yeah.
To me, the 26-7 moment in the third quarter was the Eagles saying, look, what we've done to this point has not worked. We need to open up the passing attack, and maybe this is going to be the path that we need to take to get Saquon going because they have not been able to get Saquon going in these first couple of games. At that point, you could say the Eagles have been doing the right thing because they've been taking care of the football. It was more of a conservative approach, and that was good to beat Kansas City. They were able to keep up early with Dallas until the defense got its legs. So the offense has been able to win in different ways, but this was all of a sudden a time where it's like, we've got to pour on the points and we've got to do it quickly. Fortunately, Howie Roseman upstairs has given Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts the weaponry to be able to do that in this game. And they were able to come from behind the way they were in that fashion of just going up and down the field, scoring touchdowns on 3 of their final 4 drives, and being able to take the 1-point lead before Jordan Davis called game.
What do you think about, KP right now? We got the first 2 games and then this first half of this last game where this offense with all these stars, you seeing, like you said, what we did last year was, spectacular. Saquon hasn't hit over 100 yards yet. The last 2 games before this game, AJ didn't get 100 yards. Smitty and him both hasn't really got the ball as much as we should. We've been winning football games, but like you said, last year it was kind of that way too, where we were like squeaking by the wins early in the season until we got to like after the bye week where we actually start taking over. Do you think that it's just adjusting to a new coordinator, adjusting to the coordinator, adjusting to the players, trying to play it safe? Because he doesn't really have to go all in. It's the beginning of the season. You want to leave some stuff for the middle and the end of the season as well. Do you think it's one of them tactics where it's like slow and steady wins the race, or is KP just need to stop holding back?
BJ, I think you said best there towards the end, where you're like, we need this offense to develop, and you need this first month for KP getting used to calling plays. And from the start of the season, I go back to the Dallas game. Okay, really, really weird game. Okay, the bizarre beginning with Ben Van Sumeren suffering the injury on the opening kickoff, Jalen Carter spinning at Dak Prescott and then getting ejected before the first play of the game.
That was ridiculous.
Such a weird start to the game. Dallas goes down the field. They score early. All of a sudden, the Eagles are on their heels without their best defensive player, down early. All eyes are on them. It's the Cowboys. It's, you're just hung the Super Bowl banner, all that stuff, all these emotions. But Jalen Hurts and Kevin Patullo were able to right the ship and score to keep up with the Dallas Cowboys again until the second half, when then you have that long lightning delay, the weather delay. And again, another just weird aspect of that week 1 game, but they did just enough to win. I think it was a more conservative approach. And I think it was good for Kevin Patullo to have the relationship that he's had with the players, because he could understand in some of these crunch time situations, what are the things I know from being around these guys for the last 4 years, what they can and can't do in a clutch situation, that I need them to not make a turnover. That was the biggest thing. It was which team was going to make the first mistake, which team blinked first. The Chiefs made the mistake with the Andrew Makuba interception in the end zone, and the Eagles felt like as long as they didn't make any major mistakes, they were going to be able to win this game, and they were able to get the win on the road, which no team did at Arrowhead last season. So I understand all the concerns of the offense not being as explosive, Saquon not getting going, but this Eagles team did some pretty remarkable things in the first 2 games. Now, week 3, okay, again, he had said earlier today that on Sunday, the MO was to be aggressive and to attack and take it to the Rams. Now, a couple of things didn't work out in their favor. They had poor field position because of the struggles with the dirty ball, the knuckleball kickoff that Cardi was having. So obviously we saw what Bigsby and Mechie not being able to field it cleanly, and that causing some issues with field position. They too often got themselves in second and long, third and long situations and just weren't able to get themselves out of it. And offensively, from the Rams standpoint, they were moving the ball up and down the field. Yeah. Although the Eagles were able to solidify their positioning in the red zone, which kept them in the ball game. Finally, in the second half, it was kind of like, okay, we've given up a turnover. Okay, we're down 26-7. We just look, we have no choice. We got to go. Let's use our effective weapons. We'll go tempo, so they can't really substitute, and we can catch them off guard. And they're going to be playing probably a little bit softer because they figure at that point they've got the big lead. Let's just be aggressive and put the ball in the hands of their playmakers. And the Eagles were able to do that. Now, we're going to have an interesting challenge this coming Sunday. Todd Bowles and this blitz-heavy approach, which is consistently something that the Eagles have seen from Tampa Bay these last couple of seasons. And Kevin Patullo noted that we've seen more of the blitz, not just from opponents of the Eagles, because I think the last couple of weeks, Chris Shula, the Rams defensive coordinator, has blitzed more against the Eagles than he has pretty much against any other opponent. Steve Spagnuolo blitzed more against the Eagles than I think he's ever done as a defensive coordinator. So I think teams are looking at the blitz as saying, okay, we're going to we're going to flood the lanes to keep Saquon from breaking off a big run. And at the same time, we're going to force Jalen Hurts to have to make quick decision to hopefully not allow these longer routes to develop so they can get the ball down the field to AJ and Smitty to keep things short and intermediate. So they're going to probably see it again from Tampa Bay. And so this is going to be the question of how they're going to be able to approach it. And that's going to be one of the fun storylines that we get to check out this Sunday.
Yeah, it's going to be nice, what I'm saying? Like, I really feel like I hope that, like they said, sometimes you get a loss in a win or a win in a win, because like that first half, if you look at Jalen, he wasn't really excited about that win at the end of the game, and when he got back in the locker room, we seen him all excited. On the field, he was just sitting there calm, cool, and collected like he always is. And I feel like he looks at that game in 2 different stages. One is in like they really lost. They didn't play it to the standard they're supposed to play to win football games until the second half, and it showed a clip of him jabbering with KP. Who knows exactly what was said there, because I definitely don't. But it will seem like that was kind of like the fire. Like you said, it got them to the point where they had to pass the ball. They had to be aggressive. They had to. And you think that, like, moving forward, like now he can realize, because you heard AJ also talk at the end of the game about how we need to be more aggressive. Get the dogs the ball. Let's be dogs out there. Do you think moving forward from now on out, or is it going to be one of them things where he's going to continue on his own trajectory until he feels comfortable to do that?
I think we saw what worked against the Rams. Okay. And each game is going to be its own individual adventure. I do think, though, that what we saw worked, and I would not be surprised to see them continue that MO moving forward, thinking, again, akin to last year. And I brought up the bye week example of how the Eagles went pass heavy early on and then said, look, the offensive line basically came to Sirianni and were like, look, run it behind us, okay? Like, you got 5 Pro Bowl, all-pro caliber players. You got an all-world running back. Let's utilize these horses and maximize efficiency. I feel like there's a chance here that it could be for this year, or the way the offense is currently constructed, they may need to lean more on the pass game. And Jalen Hurts, again, you go back to the NFC Championship game when teams were starting to sell it to stop Saquon, the Super Bowl, they were selling to stop Saquon. Jalen Hurts has proven he can throw to win in the National Football League. Okay. Again, you don't get to, and I posit that I don't know the streak of what is it, 16 consecutive
17 straight games right now.
17 straight, where you started and finished that he's won.
And then 19-1, I think, when he finished, 19-1, the team as a whole.
19-1. It's like you don't get to that point without being the general, being the point guard, being the guy at the helm of the offense. Okay. So to me, it was great to see the resilience of the Eagles. It was great to see a team that didn't quit. Fred Johnson, who, it's funny because I talked with him extensively after the game because I was basically like, this was what he was brought here for. Okay. Last season, Lane Johnson was the guy whenever Lane Johnson or Jordan Mailata got hurt, Fred Johnson was the first guy to go in. I understood the reasoning that Matt Pryor's pretty much been the right tackle in practices, the backup right tackle in practices. Fred Johnson didn't have the offseason with the Eagles. They felt he was probably more comfortable on the left side. So you have your left tackle, Johnson, right tackle, Pryor. But there's experience and there's evidence that Fred Johnson's been able to play and it's worked. And in this situation, look, Pryor gave it his all, and it's not all on Matt Pryor, but that's something that the Rams, attacked early on as soon as he went into the game. And obviously he's going to get a lot of the blame for it. But after the game, I talked to Fred Johnson extensively and just said, well, was there any discussion of him going in at halftime? No. So because he wasn't out there for that first drive of the second half, it was still Pryor. So Fred Johnson still didn't know that he was going in at that point, but he did go over to the defensive line. He went to the defensive lineman at halftime and said, this half is going to define us. Okay. This is going to put us on the trajectory of where we're going to want to go. If we go out there and lay down and give up, there's something to be said about this football team that's not right. That all the tough detail together, the core principles that Nick Sirianni teaches and preaches are not getting through. So The fact that they were to fight the way they did in the second half, and look, you're thankful and fortunate that they get to relive and go through the tape and digest everything as a 3-0 football team. But even if they were to come out of this game 2-1, you could at least say they showed the fight, they showed the battle that they're going to need to handle adversity later on in the season. Because I think going back, the one thing I always thought about with the 2022 season, BG, was how did that team really ever experience adversity on the way to the Super Bowl? And you just think of the playoff run alone where the Giants, were fortunate to make it to the divisional round and they steamrolled them. Yeah. Brock Purdy got hurt on the opening drive in the NFC Championship. That was not a game. Yeah. All of a sudden, you're up 10 in the Super Bowl, and you're like, this team is, the Chiefs, to their credit, had battled adversity, won ugly, found ways to win, dug in all season long, and the Eagles had not had to do that. They had not had that experience. So it's good to get that experience to show that what you can do during the tough times. Do you want to be down 26-7? No. But
you don't want to be down 26-7.
You don't want to be down 26-7.
That's not a good look.
But to see the way the team rebounded, the resilience that this team, the fight this team showed, I credit the fans. The fans didn't give up. It's not like you had a mass exodus of everyone. You saw you've seen the videos and the photos of the people celebrating in the end zone. That stadium was packed at the end of that game, where very easily, when it was 26-7, fans could have been like, yep, I'm going to get an early start on my Sunday afternoon. I'm going to get an early start on my drive home. Peace. I'll be back in 2 weeks when the Broncos come to town. Call me then. But that wasn't the case with this Eagles team. So I think there's a lot you can take from that. But the biggest thing for me here is when you're looking at the offense, you look at the strengths right now, and I would say the passing game is a strength. And I think if you're able to establish that early, that will help do things for Saquon to get the run game going and make it a little more of a pick your poison balanced attack.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. The pick and poison attack, like you said, like every week is a different game plan. Every week, anybody can be a star. And I was getting a little bit down on AJ for like we were winning games, but the press conferences weren't so high spirited. Even though he is a superstar, he wants the ball. I understood that. But I felt like as a leader of the team, you always got to stay high spirited when you're talking to like the media. You know what I'm saying? That keeps people from, coming after you, attacking you if you stay high spirited about the situation. And I feel like a couple of those interviews, you kind of look a little low. He's like, I don't know, I just want the ball, basically, is what he was saying. And I was like, AJ needs to, really show up and show out. Because any given day, AJ can have over 100 touchdowns. Saquon can have over 100 touchdowns. Smitty can have over 100 touchdowns. Goddard can have. We have so many weapons that can do it. And even the way Dawson's played over, at the end of last year, and even like he's made a couple of catches so far this year, he can get 100 yards, and it wouldn't be a big deal. I just think Jalen Hurts has hit to that point where it's time for him to like really put his stamp down, because all the haters are still there. He won a Super Bowl MVP, he won the Super Bowl, and the haters are still there. Can he throw the football? And I was glad to see this game come down to where you had to throw the football to win this football game. There was no, the running was out of the question. You're down by too many points. You had to make up ground quick. And you're only going to do that by throwing the football. And he came out and he lit it up, man. I've always had no doubts. You know me. We can go back 3 years ago when I was super praising Jalen. Everybody's like, hey, you got to calm down, BG. You got to prove it. You got to prove it. Now, 3 years later, he done proved it. He is that guy. He is the man. And, I really think he's like pretty much one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Like, the cerebral side of him came out. I see a lot of people comparing him to Brady. I'll say a more athletic version of it, because like he is starting to get down where he would never put the team in harm's way. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of plays you look at and it's like Jalen could have tried to throw that ball, fit it in there, and he won't do it. And I feel like he's at a point where he doesn't want to put the team in harm's way. He wants to just get rid of the ball, and live to play another down type situation, and like people say most times with this tush push, we get 4 downs every time that most teams don't, because when you get to that second and third and short, run the ball to Saquon, see if he can get you closer, because if you within the yard or two, we're gonna tush push it and get that first down, because we run the most unstoppable play in the league. But it's like, I don't know, I feel like the Eagles I hear a lot of people saying that they want to see us lose a game to make us bounce back, and it's like, I don't really think that's the answer. I just think you keep playing the game the way you're playing. If a loss comes in there, because most teams don't go undefeated, I think the roster's talented enough to go undefeated. But, what I'm saying, like the way they've been playing, you just keep not turn over the football, stay aggressive on defense. Vic Fangio got these guys, going right now, and I think they're going to get better as the season progresses, since you got a lot of new faces out there. And just ride this season out, man. What I'm saying? Like the way it is. Like KP, I do want to see better play calls, I want to see some more motions. I want to see some more, you got to be able to get I feel like as an offensive coordinator, your job is to get every player involved. What I'm saying? Every star player you got involved, whether it's Saquon Barkley, AJ, Smitty, Goddard. Those 4 players on offense should be your offense. What I'm saying? Those 4 players, you should be able to find ways. You watch games like last night, you see the Lions destroy, the Ravens, and you see all those players got the ball. All their star players got the ball, easily. Even if you got to come up with some trick plays, or you got to come up with something that's not, unorthodox type plays, you got to be able to get all of them the ball. And I think that's really the reason why the fans are the way they are with KP right now. It's because you can't have all that talent and not get them all the ball.
That, to me, I don't want to say it takes time to evolve, but it's a new role for him. And you look at Kellen Moore came in last season. He came, and people are like, he came from the outside. He also came with a lot of play calling experience. Okay. Yeah. He was a coordinator for the Cowboys and their high power offenses for several years. He was with the Chargers the previous year. He had a lot of play calling experience. Nick Sirianni trusts Kevin Patullo. Kevin Patullo has had been a very integral part of the offense ever since Sirianni arrived here. Now, calling plays in the course of a game in the heat of the moment is a little bit different, and that's something that I think we've seen, that it's not just adjusting the role for him, it's adjusting to what you have on the field, because you may say in training camp, oh, we're going to expect A, B, and C. But if defenses are playing us this way, or so-and-so is not playing as well as maybe you might have expected, we're going to need to adjust. And we're just 3 games through this season, and it's going to be a gauntlet for the Eagles because you're going to go against this week a very good Buccaneers defense, a 3-0 Buccaneers team. The Broncos are going to be waiting for you at home after that. It's just one after the other, especially when you are the undefeated defending Super Bowl champions, that every team is giving you your best every single week. So certainly there's going to be a little bit of that acclimation process, but I definitely think, you made the point, do teams have to lose? The Eagles basically went through that and were able to have their bounce back moment in the middle of the game and to possibly find what may work the rest of the way. This will be their first opportunity to see how that unfolds, if they're going to maintain that MO the rest of the way. But you certainly have the proven talent. This isn't like a flash in the pan. Oh, they did this for one game. No, we've seen this from 2022. We've seen parts of it in 2023, and we certainly saw it in 2024 in different ways. This is just the next evolution of this team. And I wholeheartedly agree that the one constant in the offense for the most part since Sirianni has come here has been Jalen Hurts at quarterback. And this is his team. This is his offense. And he's going to have an integral part in being able to get it to where they want to go. Because I think you made a very good point also about he doesn't put the ball in harm's way, but there is going to be that fine line at times that you're going to have to let it rip and just let your playmakers make the plays. Who owns the current longest streak without throwing an interception in the league right now? It is quarterback Jalen Hurts. Okay. Yeah. That's how good he's been at taking care of the football. And again, just the one turnover in the 3 games, that's going to give you the chance, no matter how you're playing the rest of the way. If you're not turning the ball over, you're going to have a shot to be in these ball games, as we saw on Sunday, that it wasn't until the one turnover where things really were starting to spiral out of hand. And even despite that, they were able to fight their way back into the game because of the performance of the defense, because of the special teams, because you were just getting contributions from everywhere. To your point, it's not just the offense guys that have to get involved and contribute in every game. You're going to need it from all 3 phases. And that's why, again, going back to special teams, it's so great seeing the Cooper DeJeans, the Jalix Hunts, you talk about Jordan Mailata is helping on field goal, Landon Dickerson. All these different star players are contributing there because they know that there's such a thin line between winning and losing in the National Football League. I mean, I was just looking at the standing. I get we're in week 3, but already you have your couple undefeated teams in NFC, and I think there's like 8 or 9 teams that are 2-1.
Yeah.
Like it's going to be such a tight race because there are so many good teams in the NFC this year versus you look at the AFC. And you mentioned Baltimore, who lost last night. 1-2 record right now gets them in the playoffs. Again, I know we're talking 3 weeks in, but still, when you look at the depth of teams in the NFC, it is going to be a tight race throughout the course of the year. We were probably all, I think, maybe secretly hoping that without Jay and Daniels, maybe the Commanders would drop a game. Well, instead it was the Packers who dropped the game. That was unexpected. And again, when you look at the schedule, and I'm looking at it right now, and you look at the teams that are coming down the pike, you're going to have the Packers, the Lions, the Chargers, the 2 matches with Washington, of course. All that matters is who you have that week, from the standpoint of not just the fact that it's the Buccaneers. Right now, it's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers minus Mike Evans, because Mike Evans is not.
That's
Chris
big.
Godwin is going to be, probably he's going to return, but again, he's not 100%. Tristan Wirfs might be coming back. It's those types of things that you have to look at. Is you got to catch teams at the right time.
The right time, yeah.
Again, people are probably dogging the Chiefs. The Eagles go to Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. You know what? Maybe at the end of the season, if they can claw enough wins and cobble enough wins together, they get some of those playmakers like Rice and Worthy back. Maybe that team is looking a little different in December than we're looking at them right now. So it's really all about, can you get to 1-0 that week based on the team that's directly ahead of you? And Nick Sirianni has been so good at keeping the players focused on that thing and not getting too far into what's down the line, what's in the distance, what's coming up the pike. It's all about just focus on get to this one win this week, and we'll take things from there.
Do you think this team is, I know, like you said, it's only 3 weeks in, better than last year's team, or still undecided in terms of like the talent level? Well, a big thing I like to look at was last year was we won a Super Bowl with a lot of second-year rookies. You get like a Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, and they all should have took a step forward in their next season. So as good as they were last year, you expect them to be that much better this year. Even like a Zach Bond, who's started off the game with an interception. You know what I'm saying? As good as he was and all those miracle plays he did last year, he should be better than this year since it was the second year he's ever played the position. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you feel like this team, minus the subtractions that we did let go, is better or worse than last year?
It's way too early to tell, because if you were to say after 3 and 4 weeks last season, would that Philadelphia Eagles team be one of the greatest, if not the greatest, in the history of the franchise? You'd be like, no, not from the team was 2-2 and just lost on the road to Tampa. And they go on, lose only one game, and have a dominant performance. And they found themselves. It's going to be very interesting, because you mentioned, Q and Coop going from year 1 to year 2. They played at such a high level that was unexpected, that there's probably an unfair level that we're all of a sudden thinking they're going to go from already very high to I'm going to go off the screen, off the charts. And we're seeing with Q, Q is shadowing receivers this year. Okay. He shadowed Devontae Adams for, a greater percentage of plays than he's ever shadowed a receiver in his career to this point. And I think Devontae Adams had only 2 catches for minimal yardage against him. So we are seeing him have that impact. Cooper DeJean is still playing solid ball, but it's like, well, where's the pick 6? Where's the hit on Derrick Henry? It's those superstar level plays. Zach Bond was so freaking good last year. I will say this about Zach Bond, though. Zach Bond in the first half of the game was like the one thing keeping them in the contest. The tackles for loss, the interception, great in coverage. Zach Bond was a monster all over the field early on. He's a huge reason that they had a chance to be able to come back in the second half the way they did. But it's so hard he was such a high level. He was a defensive player of the year finalist. What more can you really legitimately, you hope he plays at that level and you hope for more, but he gave you so much in year 1 that it's hard to build upon that. So the key, BG, and something that you talked about, Jordan Davis, is you're going to need other guys to make similar types of leaps that maybe you weren't expecting. So I think Jordan Davis making a leap is a great example of the way he's played. There's going to have to be guys that step up in that manner, because, you had so many off the charts performances last season, new contributions, guys coming in, doing things they had never done before. As great as Saquon was even great, bigger, he pulled off an unreal video game type move in real life, as people are probably sick of the highlight at this point, but I'm just saying those are the types of things that he did last season. You can't imagine that he's going to go to a greater level than that you're hoping just to even get to. He stays at that level. So now we do want to be guys. So I think the key is having a guy like Jahad Campbell, who's come in and had a very good start to his career. Andrew Mukuba coming in, starting at safety, getting the interception. He had a fumble recovery. He's making plays on the ball. It's Jalix Hunt, Moro Ojoma. It's those guys who are kind of the unknowns, the X factors, that you need those guys to continue to ascend through the rest of the season. Because I think for most of the guys on this roster, for the veterans, you've seen the tippy. Lane Johnson is going in the Hall of Fame. What more are you going to want to see from Lane Johnson? Jordan Mailata was PFF's #1 rated offensive lineman and is an All-Pro. What more? There's only so much. Tyler Steen is the one guy you're hoping he can solidify and play as just as good a level as Mekhi Becton did last season. You're going to have some ups and downs across the board. You just need some more of those ups to come up through the course of the season. And it's some of those younger guys who I mentioned, not the guys who maybe like a Quinyon Mitchell who already was playing at a top-tier level. It's the other guys who maybe were role players last season to be just a little bit more now.
Well, tell me, who did you think was going to make the biggest jump coming into the season? Who did you think,
Hmm.
out of the young players are going to make the biggest jump? That was one. Who did you think maybe that you didn't think was going to make a jump that you see that has impressed you in the first 3 games? And then, like, who do you think need to work a little harder? So, like, those three. Like, the person that you thought was coming in to make a big impression, the person that, you know, you might have not thought about that actually is making an impression, and the person that you thought was supposed to have a bigger impact in the first 3 games that hasn't really
Yeah,
shown.
I would the first part, you probably go to Jordan Davis because you heard about the weight loss and you saw the flashes in training camp. And I'm trying to think back. It's so funny how the way the season goes is when you're in the thick of training camp, you live it every single day, and it's just like, oh man, like there's nothing outside of it. That's like your bubble, your world for that month.
Right.
And then once you get to week 3, you're like, what happened in training camp? Like who was,
Who was
you're like,
there?
what was that battle for the 53rd spot? It's like, Antoine Power Ryland had the 2 sacks or whatever in the Jets preseason finale. And you're like at the time, you're like, oh man, did he earn his way onto the roster? And he ended up not making it, those types of things. So Jordan Davis would be probably the person I would start at with in terms of, who you needed to make the biggest jump. Because again, they invested the 5th-year option. He was replacing Milton Williams. He was the first round pick who it's interesting. I'll give my guys Bo and Fran the credit for this, but they kind of juxtaposed the BG, the original BG, with Earl Thomas, to how Jordan Davis has come along with Kyle Hamilton, because of how Kyle Hamilton has become the highest paid safety, best safety in football for the Ravens. But the Eagles love Jordan Davis in the pre-draft process, crushed it with the pre-draft interview when he had his top 30 visit, and has all the positional value, the intangibles, the physical attributes. Just, it was the perfect package for a guy the Eagles would want to have on their football team. So it's just taken a little bit longer for him to get to a level where he is among the best at his position, whereas Kyle Hamilton was among the best right out of the gate. So Jordan Davis is probably the first one who comes to mind. Jahad Campbell is probably the biggest surprise, because if you go back to OTAs, now Vic Fangio, he keeps it short with the media, but he don't lie. He lets you know how he feels about things. And he made it seem like Jahad Campbell is not going to be practicing because of the shoulder injury. We didn't think we were going to see him on the field early on in training camp. So when Howard Roseman and Nick Sirianni had their introduction to training camp press conference, they talked about Nakobe Dean going on the PUP list. No surprise. That's going to be something to watch in the coming weeks, because we're hitting the fourth game of the season. But everyone asked, well, what about Jahad Campbell? And they're like, Jahad Campbell's on the roster. Jahad Campbell's participating in training camp. Like, you're like, okay. And then you see Jahad Campbell working with the first team defense. You're like, and then you start seeing him play, and the way he can cover, the speed, the way they're working him in at the different positions, testing him every day. You're like, Jahad Campbell's playing, and Jahad Campbell's going to make an impact from day one. So that would be that one. There's, in terms of where you want to see improvement, I don't know if there's any really one person that's really had some significant drop off. That's been probably another good surprise, I would say, would be Joshua Uche, who from a pass rush standpoint has been very, very productive. From a pressure per pass rush standpoint has been very good again after the quarterback. And this was a position where, again, they brought in Ojulari, who had shown a lot of promise with the Giants.
What happened to that guy?
And that's you look at some of the guys that just don't have. Vic Fangio says, I need 4 guys active on game day. 5, fine, but I need 4. And right now, your top 4 are Nolan Smith, Jalen Hunt, Zadarius, and Uche in whatever order. And I think at this point, look, Ojulari's here, Ogbo's here. They have Patrick Johnson is on the roster. I know he's more special teams, but he obviously had the great preseason and earned his way onto the roster. But that it's Vic is like, I'm good with these guys, so we can make that work. So try, for the most part, I mean, everyone else has played, there's certain guys that you're just wondering, like, if they're 100%, like Landon Dickerson's battling out there. He's
Yeah.
giving it his all. But, for a guy to come back off a knee procedure in training camp, that he's not 100%. He's battling out there. I think it's more.
You think they should sit him down for like a game or two?
I mean, he's not going to want to do that. And it's not to a point where.
But for the best for our team in general, like, because he about to do. I think him and Cam both had injuries to whole playoffs, right?
Yeah.
I remember they were both out, and they both played through as much as they can. I remember one game that when Cam went out, Landon played center, and then Cam came back in to play center to help get him out of the game. Like, hey, we're gonna have each other back, brother. And I know these players don't want to not play, but do you think it's beneficial since it's so early in the season to just go ahead? Lane Johnson kind of got to sit, this game, even though he probably didn't want to. He got a stinger, but he got to at least sit for like 2-3 quarters. You know what I'm saying? To get him out of the game. I feel like, do you think that Landon Dickerson, do you just think you just keep letting him play because his legs been back before he even came to the pros? His knees and stuff been bad since Alabama. Do you just let him play it out, or do you sit him down for like a week? I don't know. But how much is a week really gonna help your football team? How much is
that's probably what it's going to be at this point, BG. I mean, I think if the coaching staff felt that it was necessary, they would make the decision to pull him aside and be like, look, this ain't the time. Even you look at Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert, he injured his knee, finished the Cowboys game, and wanted to come back for the Chiefs game in week 2. And the medical staff was like, because Dallas is like, I'll brace it up. We'll do the same thing. And the medical staff was like, you know what? You need a week. Just give it a week and we'll be good to go. I think if the coaches and the medical staff felt that it was in the best interest of the team to make some kind of thing, I think they would do it. But he's been able to practice fully every single week. The question is he definitely 100% out there? Who knows? But, a huge part of just trying to get the run game going is going to be, I think, helping with the pass game and softening things up, because Saquon's looking at these boxes and the blitzes on every single snap and just knows I'm running into trouble and I can't get to the second, I'm not able to get any space whatsoever like I was able to get to last season. So the Eagles are going to have to find a way to soften that up. And I think that's going to have to be through the pass game.
Yeah. Going into this Bucs game, we are 1-4 the last 4 times we played the Bucs. I know the last couple of times they beat us for sure. What do you think the Eagles got to do to get through this game, man, and actually pull off that W? Like you said, we got an advantage. Mike Williams isn't playing. He's one of their best receivers, but they got a lot of young receivers over there as well. The running backs, Bucky, and the other guys been running around pretty good. White. What do you think it's going to take for us to get over this hump?
That rookie receiver has been outstanding for them. So he's a highlight reel waiting to happen. So Baker's been outstanding. And Vic Fangio was so effusive in his praise of just the gutsy type of player he is. He's not afraid to thread the needle. He'll let his playmakers go make plays. Like our boy there saying Godwin is probably like going to come back to the lineup. It really starts with containing Baker. Very similar to the challenge that the Eagles had with Patrick Mahomes. Look, Baker knows how to keep plays alive. I watched it was the Texans Buccaneers game 2 weeks ago, and it was a Monday night game, and you just saw Baker just being able to keep plays alive with his, even though it seemed like he was tackled. Nope. Yeah. Baker was able to escape pressure, and you see some of the highlights from Sunday's win over the Jets. He was doing the same exact thing. So that is going to be a huge, huge component, is being able to stay disciplined in your rush lanes, being able to get pressure on Baker. And you got to contain the run game, because that's the thing is, Vic Fangio went to the guys at halftime and said, you guys aren't stopping the run right now. We're going to have to change up the back end of the defense, and we'll change up the coverages. So that's pretty much how they had to look at it. So big thing is containing Baker, and then they're going to have to find a way. They're going to bring the blitz. Okay, every team has brought it. Todd Bowles is going to bring it. So will they have the answer for the blitz, and can they play relatively mistake-free football? And I think the big thing is, can Jalen Hurts and the passing game get going early on to take some of the pressure off the run game and to maybe cool that blitz off just a little bit?
Do you think going early, is going to help them at all. Because you heard Banjo say today that, one day practicing and he's not going to change anything, not get you acclimated. Do you think that is really a big thing about why we keep losing in Tampa Bay? Is because these are professional players. They have to play throughout their, career, hot, cold. You can go play in the snow, but you can't play in the heat, type thing. You know what I'm saying? You think it's really that big of an impact on these players?
Yeah, the Eagles want to try to do something different. So this is something that they've had lined up since early, before the season started, was they were going to make the trip a day early to Tampa to get a workout in there, get acclimated to it. The thing is, Kansas City was just as, if not hotter. Okay, there were high 80s, low 90s temperatures there in Kansas City, so they definitely have already battled through the heat this season. But certainly, the Eagles, between working with the training staff, with the sports conditioning staff, they feel like that this is something that they want to do to give themselves a little bit of an edge, just to get a little more acclimated, and then we'll see if it works. So something a little unique, but again, if things have not been quite working, even though the Eagles did beat the Buccaneers, I guess it was it 2 years ago, but it was in the regular season. That was the big thing. Either way, they felt like they won
2 years ago in the regular season. We did beat them.
Yeah,
right?
The regular season, and then the Bucs came back and won the game in the playoffs. But I think the main thing is the Eagles probably felt like they just want to try something different, and we'll see if it pays off for them on Sunday.
All right, man. Hey, thank you again, my guy. Thanks for coming on. I know I love when I reach out to you always, coming on the show, my guy, man. Hey, let everybody know. Give me your final thoughts, and what do you really think? Do you think the Eagles get that W this week or not?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is I'm looking at this past Sunday's win, the second half performance as a wake-up call for the offense. And it is going to be really interesting to see, can they carry that over to this Sunday? And I think they do find a way to get this done, but they really are going to have to contain. The defense is going to have to contain Baker Mayfield, okay? But they've seen them corral the high-powered offenses. One thing will be, can they, similar to how they did with the Rams, they got the early stop, but can they consistently slow down? Because I think we've seen in the first couple of games, teams are able to move the ball down the field. Teams are able to move the ball down the field early on. Vic Fangio, master at making the adjustments and being able to contain teams late in the games. Can they get that a little bit more early on? Especially, again, Baker, it's interesting to see his career arc because he has fit in so well with that Buccaneers organization. And Vic Fangio is like, I don't know what these other teams, these GMs were missing. He's always been a Baker guy. And what you see what he's doing there, again, with his arm, with his leg, he's a fun quarterback to watch. It's going to be a great quarterback battle, but the Eagles are going to need to be disciplined with those rush lanes to be able to contain him. But they've got some weapons to work with down there in Tampa Bay. It's going to be a good game. There's a reason that even though it's been an ugly 3-0 start for the Bucs, look, they're 3-0 as well. So it's going to be such a fascinating matchup. I can't wait to watch it on Sunday.
Like I said, it doesn't matter if it's ugly or not. You got the dub. 3-0, baby. 3-0, there's 3-0. Something got to give this week. If you say both teams been winning ugly, then somebody need to come out pretty on Sunday, man. I swear. I hope it's Philadelphia. I think it is. I really feel like we're gonna get over the hump, and break this little streak. Like you said, 2 years ago we did, beat them. I do remember now that you reminded me that we did beat them early in the regular season. Then we lost them to the playoffs. So it's like we gotta get these guys off our back. The Oklahoma quarterbacks. I think Baker got a leg up on Jalen. I don't like anybody having a leg up on Jalen right now. So Jalen needs to go get his revenge and show who was the real Oklahoma quarterback, my guy. Well, thanks again, my guy. Hey, shout out to you. Anything coming up new that you want to let everybody know about or anything like that with the Philadelphia Eagles?
Just download the Eagles app. That's where most of our work can be found. Obviously, you got us on the Eagles social, but don't forget the mobile app. We have exclusive content for fans on there. So, BG, appreciate the love as always. Always glad to join you, my man.
All right, brother. Have a great day.
Go Birds.
Go Birds. Hey, shout out to Chris. Go follow him on, X, Philadelphia Eagles, man. He's a great guy, man. Always willing to answer the call when I call him, man. But I got another guy coming up for you guys. I told you there was two. You seen two on a thumbnail. We got the guy that is in the Eagles post-game show, the guy that's in the pre-game show. Farzetta is everywhere, my guy, man. What's up, Farzetta? How you doing, my guy?
What's happening, BG? How you been, brother?
I've been good. How you been, buddy?
I've been great, man. Busy. Eagles keeping us all real busy these days, obviously. Once football season kicks off, the free time kind of goes away. It's funny how that works.
It does. No free time no more. My girl's like, hey, you do that? I'm like, I got a podcast. Oh, I got a, video to make. Oh, I got to edit it up. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to get people on the show. There's always something to do. There's always something going on, man. But how you doing, man? Like, it's been a minute, but I'm glad I got you back on here, man. I just want to get your take and how you feeling about these Birds this year.
They have certainly made the first 3 weeks of the season a little too exciting for me, but put it to you like this. You got the target on your back. One of my favorite Hard Knocks ever is the Jets. It's a very famous one. The Jets Hard Knocks with Mark Sanchez and Mark Brunell and obviously Rex Ryan. And Rex Ryan does the whole speech about how, hey, last year when we made it to the AFC Championship game, we stuck up on a lot of people. Well, the hell with that. Now they know we're coming, and we still got to beat them, that whole thing. Obviously, it's a lot more intense when you're the Super Bowl champion.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you also happen to have a play that everyone else hates. But I think you're going through what I'll refer to, and many people refer to it as startup costs with some guys on defense right now. Even if they were here last year, like Jalen Hunt and Nolan Smith, they're in a different role this year in terms of the role of being the guy. They're no longer behind Brandon Graham. They're no longer behind Josh Sweat. It's their job. It's similar to what you just saw from Jordan Davis a year ago when he was talking about how Fletcher Cox isn't walking through that door. This is their moment now. They got to do it. They needed a year, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, to kind of get that under their belt. And now it looks like they're going to go out there and start really dominating as they did here against the Rams, especially in the second half. But I think that this team is also trying to find its fluidity again when it comes to the running game.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I can't put my finger on it just yet. I hope it's just injuries and nothing else, but you can't tell me that Landon Dickerson's been 100%.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that Cam Jurgens has been 100%. And obviously Lane Johnson being out, you can't tell me that Matt Pryor was worth anybody's while.
Oh my God.
And for whatever reason, Fred Johnson, they said it was because Fred Johnson was playing mostly at left tackle in practice. I don't give a damn. He's the best right tackle on this team, not named Lane Johnson. He's at right tackle. Done. End of discussion. And I also think the most obvious of it all is Kevin Patullo. He's never been an offensive coordinator. He's never been a play caller in the NFL. Excuse me, he's never been a play caller in the NFL. And yeah, people look at it and say, well, they got a push button offense. Yeah, that doesn't exist. That does not exist at the NFL level. If it did, then Brian Johnson would have been a head coach by now and not just a passing game coordinator. That to me is a mixture as to why the Eagles have yet to control the game from start to finish in 3 games so far this year. It's why they've had to rely on huge plays, especially in the second half. It's why they've had to rely on blocked field goals. It's why they've had to rely on crucial stops by their defense. Drew Makuba's interception against the Chiefs, most notably. Reed Blankenship getting his hand in there just at the right time on Devontae Adams to break up that touchdown in the second half against the Rams. There's little things like that throughout the game that have really helped turn the tide for the Eagles. The one thing that I just have a hell of a lot of confidence in is Jalen Hurts.
Yes.
The one person. I mean, Vic Fangio too, but as far as on the field, Jalen Hurts just a stud. And I've been preaching it for
years now, Farzy. Preaching it for years. I've been preaching it for years, Farzy. You know it.
Absolutely. I have Jalen Hurts as the second best quarterback in the NFL.
Facts.
Throughout the offseason, I mean, I think you're just crazy, even though Patrick Mahomes has gotten off to a bad start. They beat the Giants, so that's not even a brag. That's like a delayed preseason game. But I look at Jalen Hurts and I just say, what can't this guy do? People told me he couldn't read a defense. Well, thanks to him reading defenses, especially pre-snap read, he knew he could hand the ball to Saquon Barkley at the perfect time to help him break runs, especially in those games against the Rams last year. You need him to air it out in the second half like he just did against the Rams. He can air it out. People saying in the Super Bowl, I'm terrified that Jalen Hurts is going to have a game where he's got to make a throw and they stop the run. Well, that's exactly what happened in the Super Bowl, and he torched them. So, to me, after the Super Bowl, the questions were over.
This guy is an elite quarterback. There's one person in the NFL I take over him. That's Patrick Mahomes. After that, it is just Jalen Hurts. And the rest are people are just handing out participation trophies around the league.
You know what was that 20 wins in a row, like when he starts and finishes the games? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
it's been a whole year. I remember it was a whole calendar year since this guy's lost a football game started.
Yes.
You know, that's something I was trying to think, is that a record or is it not a record? Then it should be a record, because how the hell do you go so low without losing a football game? And that was one thing that I remember in the early stages. You know, we go back 3 years ago when I first started, I was talking about Jalen. I was like, two things he doesn't like to do. He doesn't like to lose, and he doesn't like to turn over the football. You know what I'm saying? And those two things that have stats true. Besides that 1 year, you know, where he had all those turnovers. Other than that 1 year, he's like, he doesn't really turn over the football, and he likes to win football games. He hasn't really lost football games. And it doesn't really matter how it looks. It doesn't matter if he's running the football, if he's passing the football, if he got 1,000,000 yards, if he don't have 1,000,000 yards, you know, because he's going to get his when he needs to get his. And that's what he's showing us throughout. Like you said, like, he's the top. You know, I still think Jalen's best quarterback. Like, I love Patty Mahomes and all, but it's like he can't do everything Jalen do. Like, yeah, he's a little bit better passer, you know, off-script passing game. You know, he got a little backyard football in there, and he's very cerebral. But you got a head coach like Andy Reid that helps you out. You know, you got a Hall of Fame tight end like Kelsey that helps you out. But in terms of like everything else, Jalen can do both. He can run the football, you know, he can throw the football. He's a dual threat. He's the strongest quarterback. So he got this unstoppable play to push tush that he can keep doing until they decide to ban it, which I feel like everybody wants to talk about that every single year to try to ban the play. But you can't really ban a play if no one's really getting hurt. You know what I'm saying?
It's the dumbest thing. Here's what let me just on that note, while we're talking about it, BG, let me just say this. It is the biggest crybaby stuff I've ever seen in the NFL. And the amount of teams that tried to run it in week 2 and the amount of teams that have just tried to run it in general, like, you can't tell me it's not safe and then run the play.
Yeah.
Like, then if you're then you're willingly telling your team, do something I think is extra dangerous. Like that is such lunacy that so many different teams tried to try, Chargers especially, who voted against it, by the way. Oh, it's a dangerous play. Well, then why are people trying it? Why are people trying it? If it was so dangerous, they wouldn't try it. Stupid.
Yeah, it's way dumb. I just don't understand it. They just want to stop us any way they can, but they don't realize, like, it wouldn't really matter. A normal quarterback sneak could still get it done 90% of the time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still Jalen Hurts. Like, they don't get that. Your quarterback don't squat 600 pounds. Your quarterback's, you know, not as athletic as Jalen Hurts, you know. You got big Josh Allen. He's the second best push tusher out there, you know, but look how big he is. You know, he's big, strong, athletic guy. What, he's like 6'5", 240 pounds. You know, that's the reason why he can pretty much just stretch his arms out to get a yard. So that's the reason why he's even more successful. He's not even 100% successful with it like we are. He's not even doing it at a high rate as we are. So, you know, that tush push thing got to stop. I don't really feel like the NFL should ever ban it. You know, like, I like what Todd Bowles said about it. You know, it's their job as defensive coordinator to figure out how to stop it. You know what I'm saying? Just because they got to play. Obviously, everybody is running it. You know, everybody's running it now. Their own version, whether they're using a quarterback, their tight end, their running back, they're using somebody to get that push tush, and they're doing the play, and it's not 100% successful like it is for us, it seems like. And it's just like, at that point, you just got to realize, okay, they do something better than everybody else. Defensive coordinators, that's what you get paid your money for. Learn how to stop the play.
Right. No, I'm with you. And for the people that want to talk about it being a rugby play, like, I've covered rugby in my time. Okay, I've done rugby.
Really?
Oh yeah. I didn't play. I'm not crazy. No. I've covered it collegiately, internationally. I've covered rugby. If you want to start eliminating rugby plays from football, then I guess no more tosses to your quarterback. Obviously, no more laterals. Not that that's really a thing. No more punts. And really kind of no more field goals. Oh, and you got to make the game even less physical. A little bit. You got to make it more physical. So you got to go against that. So, like, I hate to tell people this, but rugby is the father or grandfather of football Americano. Okay, so there's going to be similarities. Okay, unfortunately, I got my grandfather's hairline. Okay,
right.
You see me bitching about it? No, I embraced it. Thank you very much.
That's awesome. I'm just rolling with it, you
There you
said.
go. Exactly. You're welcome.
So what do you think, man? How are you liking this team through 3 weeks? I want you to do your best comparison from last year to this year. Because you got one similarity, I'll say, is the slow start to offense. You know what I'm saying? Like, even though
Yeah.
I feel like last year maybe wasn't as slow.
No, last year definitely wasn't as slow. Last year, Saquon already looked like a star. I know everyone wants to act like Saquon didn't run for more than 20 yards in the game for the first 4 weeks of the season, but that's just not the case. They had a rough go of it against the Saints. He had the big drop against the Falcons, obviously. Yeah. But, I mean, he was still a stud. And then he really broke out after that, sure, but it wasn't like he was a scrub. It wasn't like what we've seen so far this year, you know what I mean?
Right.
But like I said, it's all it's going to take time to find that fluidity again. I don't think your offensive line is 100% healthy, unfortunately. And your offensive coordinator and play caller needs to understand his role. Like, here's when I started to worry about Kevin Patullo. The first question, I think it was, of the first training camp media session, press conference he had. He's like, hey, how's this different for you now as an offensive coordinator and play caller? How's this different? He goes, really, it's not that different. And I was like, dude, it better be different. It better be different going from past
like, I was doing it already. I was helping killing
it's not that different.
Plays already. I kind of, everything had to run through me anyway.
No, drove me crazy, drive me bananas when he said that.
So do you think the struggles is a KB thing?
I think it's learning to find his rhythm with a team that is not the same as it was last year. Like, here's the deal. A lot of these guys are the same players. It's the same names, same jersey numbers, all that stuff. But it's a different year. It's a different NFL. I love when Landon Dickerson says this after every season now. He's like, every team is on a one-year deal. And he's exactly right. But also, it's not just that team's on a one-year deal. How you played one season has to adjust in the very next season because teams do know what you want to do. And I think a shining example of this is that Kansas City Chiefs game. Now, Saquon still ran for 88 yards, which is so far, I'm still not bragging, but so far his season high. But what really stuck out to me in that game was how often the adjustment Steve Spagnuolo did in that game. What I feel like he did was he blitzed more, especially zero blitzes. So what he was doing was he was going after the quarterback, but at the same time going after the run game. So he would be there at the line of scrimmage to meet Saquon Barkley with his run defense, or he would speed up the clock of Jalen Hurts to try to make a play. So that's how teams are now game planning against the Eagles. You saw this with Shula of the Rams going up against Jalen Hurts as well, where they were trying to speed up that clock. And the second Lane Johnson was out of that game and Matt Pryor came in, again, for some dumb reason, they blitzed right over Matt Pryor and got to Jalen Hurts. Then coming out of the second half, Eagles are already down 19-7. He drops back to pass because obviously they're going to throw the football now, and they run right around Matt Pryor, Jared Verse does, and takes down Jalen Hurts for the sack fumble. One play later, the Eagles all of a sudden are down 26-7 in that game. So it's all a matter of cracking the code of how you're now going to adjust to the adjustment. The phenomenal news for every Eagles fan is Saquon Barkley, I think, is still great. I don't think all of a sudden it's all gone. I don't think, look, the 482 touches, that has been on my mind all offseason into this season, to the point where all offseason I was saying if I have one ask of Kevin Patullo, it's to lean a little bit more on the passing game. Don't become a throw-first team, but just lean a little bit more on the passing game. Like, don't be 32nd in attempts, for instance, okay?
Nice.
Give me middle of the road. But I think the biggest nut to crack in all of this is just waiting for that to develop again with Saquon and this offensive line. But in the meantime, and here's where the good news comes in, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Jalen Hurts. That is really difficult to make look bad. Whether you're Todd Bowles, whether you're Kevin Patullo, whether you're really any defensive coordinator. So that's the optimism, that they'll figure a way to find consistency in this offense.
Do you think it's just too early to really point fingers at anybody?
No, it's never too early for that. I mean, in all honesty,
it's Kevin's fault.
Well, put it to you like this: these wins and losses all count the same as they do in week 16, 17, and 18, obviously. Yeah. So, look, after every win or loss, you can give a blame ball or a game ball, that type of thing. So it's not saying Kevin Patullo has left a lot to be desired in the first 3 weeks of the season is not some piping hot take. It's not dooming and damning for the rest of the year. It's acknowledging that in the present, he's left a lot to be desired. And for all the people that want to talk about like some genius adjustment by him or Jalen Hurts calling plays in the second half, like there are some times, BG, where I just feel like it's everybody's first day in the sports world. And it's just like, what are we like? Hold on a second. Like in a baseball world, Joe Onderon, the Phillies closer, pitched in a non-safe situation. That's what happens sometimes. You get him some work, and he got a line drive off his foot. Everybody lost their mind. What's he doing in the game? And I'm like, is it everyone's first day watching baseball? Well,
Right.
Was it everyone's first time watching a team go down 26-7 a minute into the second half and realize that they have to throw the football? Did not everybody realize that? There was going to be a conscious decision, as should happen with every kid who's ever played Madden even, let alone
Right.
just be a coach on an offensive staff like Kevin Patullo. Everybody knows you got to throw the football. There wasn't some like, hey, what if we threw it moment? No, you have to throw the football. You're down 19 points in the second half. You better throw that football. The team was running on you, by the way, in the first half. You better throw the football. And they did, and they won. So here's what I'm hoping. Here's, again, for the optimistic and I think, quite frankly, likely scenario of the way this plays out is that they realize the run game is going to take a minute. For whatever reason, either it's Cam Jurgens being banged up still, or it's Landon Dickerson still dealing with his back injury, and Lane Johnson now with his stinger and all that. Tyler Steen's actually been pretty good. I'm pretty impressed with what I've seen from Tyler Steen. And Jordan Mailata, I still think, can play at a very good level.
Awesome.
You got to get behind those guys. I think it's a matter of, in the meantime, leaning more on the passing game, even more so than what I was asking for before the season started. And the good news is you got some pretty phenomenal players there at your disposal to help all this come together.
Yeah, we got some good receivers there. But like you were saying, like people been doing that in terms of stopping the run game last year. And these guys, Landon got hurt last year, Cam got hurt last year, and they're still able to run the football. Is it the play calls, the way they're setting up the plays? Like, because the whole year, like even Saquon said, you didn't think that all 17 games plus the playoffs they were trying to stop me.
Right.
Ever since you hit the first, 4 or 5 games where you're getting over 100 yards per game, you start bringing off these long runs. Everybody, that is their number one job, is to stop you. And I don't really feel like everybody keeps saying, oh, the Super Bowl was the first time they really stopped them. And I really feel like it's like poker, or it's like any game you play, you set people up for the next move. And all that running in the playoffs set them up for the Chiefs to go put all your resources, all your time into how you're going to stop this, dominate running back from running all over you in the Super Bowl, embarrassing you, and then you just got embarrassed by the pass game. You know what I'm saying? So it's like what I'm saying, where it's like setup. And do you think that maybe this is what Nick and Kevin's doing? You don't want to show all your cards in your first 4 games. You want to save some for the middle and the end of the season.
I mean, maybe I don't. If you're Kevin Patullo, I don't think you want your first introduction to not be your best cards. I think you got better cards that you'll develop over time as you improve as a play caller and offensive coordinator. But I think a lot of them are out there on the table. If that wasn't all of them in that second half, then I don't know. If he's got something better than that, I'd love to see that too. You know what I mean? But maybe see it in the first half too.
Especially with the run game though. Like for Barkley not to even go over, like really not even really sniffing 100 yards right now.
Yeah, no, he's not. Yeah, it's an interesting thing. You look at that Super Bowl, though, and you talk about 25 carries for Saquon Barkley, only 2.3 yards per carry. Like, they stopped the run. But what's amazing to me is that the Eagles just kept doing it. Like, you're talking about this is why so many people have had years taken off their lives watching the Andy Reid era. As great as it was, there was frustration of, hold on, you can't run the ball 12 times and then just give up on it. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
And then that Super Bowl happens, this Super Bowl happens, and it's 25 times at 2.3 yards per carry. Goodness gracious.
That's how it was last week, it felt like. He ran the ball a lot. He just wasn't.
And it was,
I think, 2 plays where he had like 10 yards here, 9 yards here. But other than that, it was like, he's getting hit right at the, it's kind of like almost like watching him run for the Giants for a little bit. It seemed like he's getting hit like right when he gets the ball. He's cutting right into it.
Yeah, if Kevin Patullo is going to do anything different, I think one of the things they do is they come out looking to throw. They come out looking to make plays in that direction. And I think, quite frankly, they have to, because what you're seeing on the offensive line and Saquon Barkley, it's not meshing at this point. And one of the unfortunate things about this is that you don't have the bye week coming up. You have the bye week, what, in 6, 8, 7 weeks now? Yeah, week 9. Week 9, 9 or 10, whatever it is. So you don't have that like nice early reset where you can go, okay, all right, we didn't have it right, but back to the drawing board. Right. I don't want to see them abandon the run by any means. I would love for them to still be a run-first team, but what I've seen in the first couple of weeks of the season is just not there. Now watch this be the game where they do it, but you're going to have to, I think, throw the football against this team. They're not going to have Mike Evans. You could be making a statement here offensively. I hope what I think they'll do, I think they throw. What I hope they do is I hope they run. Because that run game isn't going to get better by not doing it. And by throwing more, you're then asking your offensive linemen to do more. As opposed to the thud and done, as some of my former offensive lineman friends would tell me. Instead of the thud and done, you're now keep thudding. Okay, now let go. Like, you don't have that long sustained stress. You just have the bang and done. So I'd like to see them find that rhythm. And I'd love to see Saquon Barkley make this the game that he breaks out. And if it's not, then guess what? Just like you do with A.J. Brown, you find a way to put the ball in his hands. If it's not going to be through the run game, let me see a little bit more of that screen game.
Yeah, what a screen game, man. Yeah. Get a little bit creative. You know, one team I do hate watching because it's on my mind because I just watched them last night with the Lions. They always have some trick plays going on, like some nice, like you seen the play where they had it off the say Brown, and then he pitches this to,
razzle dazzle.
Yeah, razzle dazzle. It's like you want to see, as fast you want to see nice plays. You appreciate winning a football game. Like, I don't care how we win. Like I always say before, I don't care if Jalen has 50 yards passing, 175 yards rushing, but we win the game. That's all I care about is we winning the game. I'm pretty sure he doesn't care about it either. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, but as fans, you do want to see a little bit more.
Yeah.
From your offense.
Yeah. You want to see it mature. You want to see the maturation process. You want to see it expedited is what you do, but you want to see it really, really grow. Kevin Patullo will make a lot more people feel comfortable if the Eagles come out and they come out in control. And look, if you look at his first game against the Cowboys, you're looking at the first couple of possessions there, touchdown, field goal, I think it went.
Yeah. First 4 possessions we scored.
Then you really break it down and you go, okay, those were nice, long, sustained drives, but the ones that punched in the end zone were 2 scrambles by Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley getting in the end zone. Yeah. So it's like, that shouldn't be that hard, but, whatever. I get, again, teams are game planning for you. Teams know what you want to do. Teams are now trying to use all the information and all the footage they have of you last year to try to crack that code. And now the team that really helped the Eagles turn it around, they're going to face again on Sunday. And they're gonna get their first crack at it since that moment.
How you like in the development of Jordan Davis? That's one I want to talk to you about because I'm a huge Jordan Davis fan. Like I said before the season, that Jordan Davis will be our best DT this year. And everybody's like, what the hell are you talking about, BG? Don't say blasphemy like that. Right. Jalen Carter is definitely going to be our best DT. I'm like, I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying Jalen Carter is going to be a bad DT for us. I'm just saying, if you look at Jordan Davis at the end of last season compared to coming into this season, he lost more weight, he's more athletic. He's playing double the amount of football. It's like he has a bigger upside just for the fact that he's bigger. When you see Jalen Carter stand next to Jordan Davis, he looks small. You know what I'm saying? Like a little kid compared to like Jordan Davis. So obviously, if that guy puts it all together with the speed and athleticism and actually start getting sacks, he could be a more dominant force in that middle of the football field.
Well,
and so far this year, I think he's been a more productive defensive tackle through 3 games.
Well, yeah, he's played all of them as opposed to Jalen Carter, who spit the first one away, unfortunately. But Jordan Davis, First off, let me just say, I feel really bad for that dude because that dude lost 26 pounds, and then he scoops and scores a blocked field goal for a touchdown, and everyone's like, thick six, fattest guy to ever return one. I'm like, dude, give him a break. My man just lost 26 pounds. He's running faster than a lot of quarterbacks in this league. Getting that
18 miles per hour, my guy.
18, a little over, 18.58, whatever it was, miles per hour. Exactly. You get off his back. Leave him alone.
That's great.
But I'll put it like at the end of last year, the decision came about whether or not you were going to give him a big deal or are you just going to pick up his rookie deal, his rookie extension. The Eagles, I felt, made a smart play and picked up his $13 million rookie extension. And they said, all right, let's see if you're worth more than this. But this year, you're going to get $13 million. Let's see you go out there and dominate. He went out and got a Peloton, fell in love with it, named, I think, his top 3 Peloton instructors, dropped 26 pounds, played 81% of the snaps in week 1 with Jalen Carter being out, and played rather well, I might add.
Yeah.
And you're seeing a constant push in the middle of that defensive line, especially in 3rd and short situations. You're seeing him chase down Matthew Stafford. Not that that's a huge brag, but Jordan Davis last year is not doing it. He chases him down on that 3rd and 2 against the Rams this past weekend. I still think Jalen Carter, by the time it's all said and done, will be the best at the end of the year. But Jordan Davis is going to earn himself that contract. I think we can all agree on that.
How you like the rest of those boys on that D-line? You know, do you think Nolan, Hunt, how you think they're playing through 3 games?
They're around the ball to make a play. The plays will come. They're putting themselves in a great spot to make that play. They're around the ball. They've made plays. And in terms of the regularity in which they're replacing, like a Josh Sweat, like a Brandon Graham, that's a work in progress. I think anyone that realized, especially after Azeez Ojulari wasn't even starting, or excuse me, not even active in any game this season, I think everybody is really starting to realize, that, oh, this is a tall order. Uche's impressed. I thought he's played his position well. Zadarius Smith had a really good first game, hadn't played since January 18th, and comes out there, starts balling out, plays 30% of the snaps, which is a lot, by the way, for a guy who hasn't played since last season. So, yeah, there's some to be desired. I think Jahad Campbell is very similar as well, plays very well around the ball to make plays. Look, for a lot of the younger guys that are being asked to step into big roles, or a rookie being asked to step into a starter's role like Campbell, like Makuba, you're going to see the plays come. Now, Makuba's already made the big play, and that was obviously against the Chiefs. But everybody else, I am very encouraged by how they've played, but I know they're going to play better as the season goes on.
Especially like Campbell. You know, he's been playing good.
John Campbell. Yeah, he's made plays, but more often than not. I mean, look, he's around the ball to make a play. On the Zach Bond interception, Jahad Campbell was the guy going up the middle on the blitz. Again, Vic Fangio blitzing. And Jahad Campbell comes up the middle of the blitz. He eats the blocker, but at least carries the momentum towards Matt Stafford. I think Matt Stafford might got a little scared a little bit on that play and let it go a little bit earlier than he would have liked. Bond comes up with the interception. The wonderful tangled web of football, how it's all connected.
Let's talk about that. Nakobe Dean coming back. What do you think? Is it instant backup? Do you give him a chance to have his spot back because you don't lose a spot for injury?
No, that's all that's BS. I never I think it was Jameis Winston 2 years ago, maybe last year I can't remember when it was, but he was the one that came out and said most recently, he's like, the rule in the league is you don't lose your job to injury. And it's like, you lose your job to anything, dude. Like, I'm sorry. I played freshman year of football, and I know that. Like, I didn't play in college. I didn't play in the NFL, but I know that. Like, how do you not know that? That's just great. No, I don't see them putting Nakobe Dean right back in there to be the starter. I think he's a gradual work back who's gonna see snaps, but I don't see him just taking over immediately for Jahad Campbell.
Is it over though? Do you think starting for this team is it over for Dean?
It could be. Again, Jahad Campbell hits a rookie wall. See you later. Nakobe Dean's back in there. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a short leash. I mean, he'll be allowed to make mistakes. It's not going to be like he misses a tackle and then you never see him again. But he's got to, I would consider it now for Jahad Campbell to go on a downward trend. Because the other aspect of this is that they're going to have to pay Jordan Davis. They would rather, I think, restart the clock. No, above all, it's going to be talent, but also the business side of it, they would rather restart the clock on a rookie when having to pay him, as opposed to that wall coming closer and closer as you're on the train to pay Nakobe Dean.
What about this secondary CB2 spot? Come talk to me.
Well, Jacorian Bennett just needs to take that over, please and thank you. I'm done with the Adoree Jackson experiment. You talk about startup.
Adoree played decent. He wasn't like completely horrible.
Who is this?
Adoree.
Okay.
I gotta give my USC guys love. Sorry, that's just...
Oh, it's okay. Let me explain it like this. Then this is how I explain it on another show I do with some guys. So if I go to your house and I drop off 2 steaming piles of crap in your living room, okay, and then I leave, okay, wait for it, and then I come back a week later and I remove one of the steaming piles of crap, it's going to smell a little bit less in your house, right?
Right.
But it's still going to stink, right?
Right.
So it's a little bit of an improvement, but the problem's not solved, i.e. Adoree Jackson.
But do you think Bennett's the guy, though? Or do you think we should go get like a Asante Samuel Jr.?
Let's go down this avenue that we went down with. A lot of people went down with Jalen Hurts for a long time, right? Is he Mr. Right or is he Mr. Right now? I think Jacorian Bennett would be Mr. Right now. I don't think he's Mr. Right. I'm not marrying him. I'm not. Oh yeah, 5-year deal for this guy. Absolutely.
Right. He definitely has that. We should just brought back Rodgers. If you see what he'd been doing over there in Minnesota.
Yeah. What was it? The first play? He had just had a bunch of wild.
Yeah, 99 rating, pick 6, return for a touchdown. It's like he's looking like he's an all-pro over there.
Yeah,
and we've seen him play good with us. So, and I think they were showing something like how they were like adding up 2 players' contracts. It was like $6 million, and then his contract was $6 million. And they're like, Howie, why don't you just pick up the $6 million?
Yeah,
the $6 million. You can't win them all. Like Howie's great. He doesn't win them all. He doesn't always make the right decisions.
Yeah.
Do you think that was a miss for Howie?
Yeah, I think it was a miss for Howie. The Chauncey Gardner-Johnson deal, and I know he's available now. So
totally. Do we pick him back up, Farzy?
I don't think they will. I think that's
our safety spot not locked down either.
Well, I'll put it to you like this:
Brown's playing a height at best. Makuba's cool, but imagine having Makuba and CJGJ with Reed.
Yeah, this team loves Reed Blankenship.
They do.
They really love. I'm not talking about
no matter even if he suck in the game. The games he suck in are the games he make the big play at the end of the game.
Well, he just made a great play. I know he got toasted on the first Davante Adams on that touchdown. Tried to draw the penalty on the pass interference. Oh, dude, I've seen better acting in some.
That was pass interference. He pushed off.
Barely. It was hand fighting. They were hand fighting. But the other thing though, the touchdown or the one he broke up, he got his hand in on there on Davante Adams in the end zone. Yeah. So that was a great play he made. Now, also, I'll go back to this. When Darius Slay and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson were still on the Eagles, technically, after the Super Bowl, and Darius Slay was talking about he's on some podcast, if you remember this, and he was asked about leadership on the Eagles defense. The first name he mentioned was Reed Blankenship.
Yeah.
Then he mentioned like Zach Bond. He mentioned his quote unquote son, Quenyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. He mentioned those guys. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was never mentioned. If you remember, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was a little pissed off about that. Then a couple of days later, maybe Darius Slay had the inside dope. I don't know. But CJGJ was gone. He was traded.
Yeah.
I don't think the Eagles revisit that. If you're asking me if I'm the GM, would I do it? Hell yeah, he'd be here already.
Hell yeah.
Before the ink was dry on the release papers, he'd be back in Philadelphia as quickly as possible. But I don't think they revisit that. I'm sorry to use this phrase, but it's the only one that really comes to mind. I think they look at him as damaged goods at this point. And I think Vic Fangio talking about that's a cap move. I'm fine with it. When they moved on from Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, I think that cut him rather deep.
I think it's more like to me, it remind me maybe like a Nick Foles. You might not play better anywhere else. But when you're in a Philly uniform, you're playing great. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, bring him back to Philly, let him ball out here, in Philly. But he didn't ball out enough to get a new contract with Detroit. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? He balled out
Yeah.
enough. He still got real cut. And I think, you know, you don't have to pay him because he got paid the money he wanted. So I'm pretty sure a lot of that was guaranteed, you know, to the point where you can give him a cheap contract like you wanted to do in the first place. You bring him in, him, Makuba, Reed, you know, it's like Fred Johnson all over again. You bring him back. Fred Johnson left. He couldn't get his starting spot. He's back. You know, he went out there. And I actually think he played pretty decent his last game with the Texans.
Well, I mean, he played great all year with the Lions when he
Yeah.
was out there for that year.
'Cause I know it's like not everybody's going to be the golden child. You know, the NFL is not full of golden. If you look at some of the best players ever, they have some very disturbing passes. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, there's some of the legends that did some dirt, you know, before they were legends. And you gotta let it be. Like, I just feel like I agree with the mentality. You know, his little show that he did. You know, he kind of does get a little reckless on that show, talk wise. The way you don't want being a Super Bowl caliber team, you might not want that as, you know, part of your name. But ball players are ball players at the end of the day.
I
and
agree.
If you're still weak in a spot, you need to get that spot filled if you're trying to win another Super Bowl. Because I feel like we're in our dynasty window. Everybody talk about it. I feel like we're in our dynasty window right now. So as many championships we can get in the next 3 years is our window. You know, after that, like you said, we got to play so many
100%.
So many people.
Yeah, which is why I don't like the Kevin Patullo hire. Like, if he's it, he better be it. You can't have another Brian Johnson. Like, he better be it.
He gave me Brian Johnson vibes a little bit.
Well, yeah, because it's in-house, and still I haven't heard the question answered or even asked about, I'm sorry, what made Kevin Patullo ready now? Because you passed over him 2 years ago when you went with Brian Johnson. You passed over him a year ago when you went with Kellen Moore. And the Kellen Moore thing, I get. After Brian Johnson, you had to have somebody that was established. But what made Kevin Patullo ready now? Other than he's been here. Tell me.
For 4 years.
Yeah, right. Like, for instance, I remember, let's go back to this. I remember Chip Kelly when he hired Billy Davis, okay, as his defensive coordinator. You know, like everybody else, you look and see what his defense is ranked over the years with, who was it, San Francisco and Arizona, I think, and they're all bottom 25. They're terrible, you know. So I remember asking Chip Kelly at the press conference after he was hired, and I was like, what makes Billy Davis the right hire? Like, what convinces you he's the right hire? And he goes, well, meet him. And he goes, meet him. Like, meet him. Go meet him. And I'm like, okay, fine. So they had a little powwow, as they do sometimes. The way it works is at the NovaCare complex, they'll literally have like the cafeteria set up with little nameplates, you know, and they'll just say like Billy Davis right there, little nameplate. And you go and you sit down, you talk to him, and they have like the quality control coach, you know, the stuff like that. Quality control coach at the time, Press Taylor, by the way. But I talked to him. I'll tell you that story later. But I went up to Billy Davis, and me and a bunch of other reporters, or they were reporters. I'm a sports talk guy, media members. We sat there and I listened to him, and he was like, yeah, my record doesn't really do a lot of bragging for me, but I know defense and I work with some great defensive minds, and I know I take their philosophies and apply it. And I feel like with the personnel we have here, we can have a lot of, and I'm like, damn, this guy interviews brilliantly. I just hope he can actually coach. Now, as truth be told, he did not. He was not able to coach. Juan Castillo had better numbers than Billy Davis, for the record.
Remember that. He was offensive line coach.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know what was interesting about that with Juan Castillo, just real quick on it? He was a linebacker. So when you think about it, it was even more asinine that he was an offensive line coach, but he was a phenomenal offensive line coach.
Right?
And then when he went back to the defense after, by the way, playing chess with Jim Johnson for like 10 years, you figure he learned a thing or two. And yeah, to his credit, he was not terrible. It was that was more a reflection on Andy Reid than it was Juan Castillo, but that's a story for another day.
Right.
So talking to Billy Davis, I was like, oh, that's why he wanted me to meet him. And then you saw the product on the field. Crap. Terrible. Yeah. Never want to see that again. By the way, I mentioned Press Taylor. I literally went up to him because I never met a quality control coach in the NFL before. And I said, offensive quality control coach. And I just said, hey, I really don't mean, and he was a young guy, like 25, 26, whatever he was at the time. I don't even know. And I said, hey, I don't mean this in a bad way or negative way. I just have no idea how to ask this question. and I'm sorry if it comes off disrespectful, but what is it you say you do here? And he started laughing. Yeah. What do you do? What does the quality control coach do? And he goes, "Hey, it's cool. Great question. No, it's totally fine." He couldn't have been nicer. We had a great conversation. And basically what he said was, it was like, all the little things that you don't think about, I have to, those are my life. Sharpened pencils, tapes queued up.
Oh my God.
The right video, like every little thing that allows, in this case, Chip Kelly or what was his name? Joe Panunza. I can't remember his assistant head coach. Billy Day. Oh, no, he was a defensive side of the ball. But basically anything that the coaches would have to do. Jeff Stoutland became the offensive line coach, as a matter of fact, under that regime.
Right.
Anything that helps the coaches only focus on football, I do the little thing. So, he's essentially the glue guy of the office. He's a runner. He's a rookie.
He's a freshman.
Carry my pads.
Don't get my cleats,
Carry my pads.
Hey, man. So, this Bucs game, like we already talked about, Evans is going to be out. The Bucs pretty much have our number. I know we beat them, like you were saying, like 2 years ago. But we lost the last, 2 games against them. Like, what do you think it's going to take for us to go? And what do you think about this whole, leaving early to get it acclimated to the heat? Because you heard Vic said, a day's not going to help you get acclimated. And do you think it's really that big of a deal, since these are professional players, in terms of the heat?
I'll put it to you like this. The only game the Eagles have won down there in the Jalen Hurts era was at night, and they stomped them. Everything else has been.
It was a night game when we won, huh?
Yeah. I think it was either Thursday or Sunday night.
I just remember that. It was 2 years ago in week 3 or 4 or 2. Yeah.
Yeah. The one
was a Thursday night game or a Monday night game.
It was one. It was prime time, whatever it was. So I just remember that game. One, because that was a big conversation about Jalen Hurts and whether or not he was 100% healthy, because we were thinking about a lingering knee injury. And there was one really suspicious play where he left 6 yards out on the play and got out of bounds as opposed to getting the first down. It was a weird play, but they smoked him that game. It was one of 2 games that they won that year by more than 10 points. That and the Dolphins game that year.
Yeah.
So you thought okay, monkey's off the back. You're good to go. Here we go. Let's party. And then, unfortunately, they end up playing the last game, the playoff game down there, Jason Kelsey's last game, and they get smoked. And then they get smoked again.
Last year got smoked, right?
Yeah, right before the bye, right before the big turnaround. This is a better football team, I think, than what's taking the field. It's a better football team at nighttime, but it's a better football team in general than what went into Tampa. The number one reason for that is Cooper DeJean. Quenyon Mitchell is going to have less of a workload with Mike Evans not being there.
And Jim have been playing some good football, though.
Oh, they're playing good football. What are you saying? The Bucs are playing good football?
The rookie, the receiver.
Oh, Egbuka. Egbuka, yeah. He had. Did you see that catch he had against the Jets? Yeah. Baker Mayfield aired that thing out. He went out one-handed on Sauce Gardner and reeled that baby in, no problem. It was beautiful. It was pristine, is what it was. It was angelic, is what it was. But I just think the Eagles are going to be on an absolute mission in this game. And I know that Jalen Hurts, you talk about a team having a target on their back. Jalen Hurts looks at the Bucs and he sees Todd Bowles and he goes, I got to beat Todd Bowles. I got to beat Todd Bowles again. Right? Yeah, it ain't good. But this is one of those things that, it's a measuring stick game for the Eagles, like how far have you come type of thing. I think Vic Fangio needs to learn from the awful mistakes he made in the first time he played against them, which was as the Eagle. Which, remember, that was the game where they were giving him all sorts of cushion up front at the line of scrimmage. And after the game, it was like, well, if Baker Mayfield was getting the ball out every 1.7 seconds, whatever it was, where's the blitz? Where's the press coverage? Right. Where's this? Where's that? And it's like, well, I generally leave it up to my corners to see if they want to press or not, and they make the decision. And it's like, well, how about you tell them in that situation to get on the line of scrimmage? Yeah. And then after that, to his credit, I did notice after that game, one of the big adjustments, aside from Cooper DeJean starting, running the ball more, turning the football over less, taking less chances with the football. Number 5 would be more press coverage from the Eagles after that game. So hopefully you learn your lesson and you use that with great authority in this game here against the Bucs, which I do have the Eagles winning. Spoiler, I have the Eagles winning this weekend.
Yes. Do you think the Eagles need to lose to really see their full potential for the season?
No. I think the Eagles need to be down. The Eagles need to be down 26-7 at the 14-minute mark of the third quarter, and then come back and win to realize their full potential. That was
it last week. That was the win. The loss within the win, right?
Lose as many first halves as you want, and then in the second half, dominate.
Nice, man. Hey, what was it? I had one more real good question to ask you. Oh yeah, about the defense. Do you think that you'll start seeing a lot more of these players shine moving forward in terms of like the Campbells, the Nolan Smiths? You think that as the season goes along, because they're in their second year of Vic Fangio now, you think, like you said, it's one of them things. Like, remember the year where Brandon Graham was like, we're doing what we got to do. We're getting close. They're just not coming. But when they come, they're going to come in bunches.
Oh, I absolutely feel that. Like I was saying earlier, step dogs right now. Hungry dogs run faster. I'll entertain the audience with a little Sinatra in the meantime. This summer, just kidding. To answer the question, I do think that Nolan Smith, Drew Makuba, Jalix Hunt, all these guys will continue to take steps forward. All these guys will continue to get better. This is, as I was saying earlier in the conversation, it was all about startup costs. That's why you're allowed. That's why they have a rookie at the safety position next to Reed Blankenship. That's why they have a rookie next to Zach Bond at the linebacker position. These are the startup costs. I believe in Brandon Graham when he says stuff like that, when he has said stuff like that in the past about how you got to get these out of the way now, because when they do get there, not just being around the football is going to be good enough anymore, but making the play is going to be good enough. All that will come in due time. You've seen a couple of plays from Nolan Smith already. You've seen some plays from Jahad Campbell already, but that happening with more frequency, I think it's once you get to that edge, you're going to fall into a pool of success with the talent. I think they have the young talent on defense.
We just pick up Xavier Gibson. Do you think last week's return game, was the reason why we got him? And is he going to help out?
He's going to be there immediately. He can't muff 4 kickoffs, for crying out loud, including 1 or 2 of them with Tank Bigsby. John Mechie, what do they do? He's not a returner. And then they had to say, you're fine. Just go out there and do it. Like, no, don't. Stupid. No, he's absolutely going to be out there on Sunday. Absolutely.
I heard that Coop got hurt last game. Cooper, not Cooper DeJean, but the receiver Cooper.
Darius Cooper.
Cooper.
I forget what the injury was, but yes, he was hurt.
Do you think you see Gibson on some offense, or that's just strictly a special team thing?
I don't know. Let's see how creative they want to get. I would say no, but like even Mechie got in there. I think it was the first play of the Chiefs game got run to him.
Yeah.
Second play of the Chiefs game, maybe the Dallas.
He got catches last game too. I think he got a catch or 2 last game.
Maybe it was second half he came out, and I was like, what, Mechie's getting the ball already? All right.
I think he needs to get the ball a little more too. Because I don't want to see him on special teams. Mechie, I really think that Mechie kind of is a good 4th receiver. Like, you don't really use him that much, but he's talented enough to make plays in the NFL, basically.
I 1,000% agree. But also, more to the point, he shouldn't be on he is not a special teamer.
Yeah, he's not.
Like, he's not a returner. Like, when I saw that deal, I went, whoa, what? And then, of course, after that's when Johnny Wilson, was shut down, or not shut down, got hurt. So he's out for the year. But no, I understand getting wide receiver depth. I never looked at John Mechie and went, oh, well, he's a returner, because he's not.
No. And why didn't you put Coop back there?
Cooper DeJean?
Yeah.
No.
Why are people like that? Coop is like 22 years old, okay?
I don't care.
He has forever energy, okay?
Bones,
energy.
man.
You're that young. You got forever energy. You got to run these guys into the dirt. You got to play him until you can't play him no more.
You know how many
If
snaps?
he's the best returner we got, we need to put him out there.
If he's the best returner you got a problem on this team. You know how many snaps he just played? How about 100% of the snaps this last week? The last after
Jalen Carter does it too.
No,
he still plays special teams.
All right, I'd rather have Jalen Carter return punts. How about that? Put that in your pipe and smoke it. How about that? I'm kidding, of course.
You just don't want. I know what people like. Don't get the star players. We need them. But this is football. If those guys want to go out there and play, it looked a lot better. How many of those field position things did we lose from those muff pumps? Like every single one kickoff because of the knuckleball they got going on now. The new knuckleball thing that they're kicking at the players. Who gives a damn? Like, why are you really scared of even catching the ball? It's not like before. No one's moving until you catch the ball. So it's like you might as well feel comfortable, relax, and catch the goddamn football to run it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that.
Then I lose my nickel. I lose my other outside corner. I lose
Bigsby in for that too, right?
Yeah, and he was Mr. Dropsies as well. Yeah, and he was.
Then they're gonna look at it and be like, okay, since you muffed it, we're not gonna give it to you no more. You're out. We gotta get these guys gifted in. Or you're gonna think, I think basically should still get another shot. He still knows how to return.
I would give him another shot. Yeah, but I think you're going to see Xavier.
Get Mechie off the return team period. Yeah, he shouldn't.
Even that doesn't.
And then even I think I even seen Dotson out there. Or was that punt return?
Dotson was on punt, I believe. Punt return.
He shouldn't be out there either. I don't want him out there either. He's too good of a receiver. I think he's another one, and we need to get the ball in his hands a little bit more too, as well.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with him returning punts because he's like, third on the list there.
So Devontae's no, AJ's no.
Fourth if you include a healthy Dallas Goedert.
Hey man, Dallas Goedert.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, my guy. Hey, give me 3 hot takes for the game and give me a score prediction. We can get out of here.
All right, 3 hot takes on the game. Jalen Hurts. Did I just lose you?
No. You got the solo.
It's just me. Oh, wow. Look at this. Spotlight. Okay. Okay. 3 hot takes. Okay. On the first play of the game, Jalen Hurts to A.J. Brown for a 70-yard touchdown reception. Boom. Hot take.
Woo!
Hot take number 2. Drew Makuba comes up with his second career interception and his first career pick 6. Boom. Hot take.
Woo!
Number 3. How do I cook up a hotter take than the previous 2? Xavier Gibson takes one to the house. Hot take number 3. Boom. And Eagles win this game 31-21. Boom.
I like it, man. That was great. That was good those were some good hot takes, Fargy.
Those are off the top of my head.
That's why I get you on the show, Fargy. You always bring the fire, my guy. That was a good one. And even Gibson you know how awesome it would be to even see our special teams even take one. When the last time we even took a kid to the house? I can't even tell you.
Jordan Davis?
Thanks again, Fargy, for
my pleasure as always, BJ. Great seeing you, bud.
Follow Fargy with the Fargy Show. I know you watch him on the post game show. What else is coming up for you, Fargy? What else going on?
I work for a digital network also called Locked On. You can catch me doing Locked On Phillies postcasts. I'll be on tonight after Phillies Marlins. Yeah, I do a daily 76ers podcast with my friend Keith Pompey, Inquirer.com, Locked On 76ers. So make sure you guys check that out. I do the Locked On Sixers postcasts as well, following the games. Locked On Eagle Squad as well. And then on the Seth Joyner Show YouTube channel, Derek Gunn, Seth Joyner, yours truly on pregame. Bailey Livesey joins us post-game to break it all down throughout the Eagle season. So like and subscribe to all the above.
Like and subscribe to all that. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe to Bird Gang 31. We just went over 10K. We're on the road to 20K next. Let's get it going. Let's keep that motor going. And fly, Eagles, fly. Watch us tonight. We will be on The Truth tonight, 7 p.m. As always, me and JC Sports Talk and break it out. The preview game for the Tampa Bay Bucs game. So, hey, much love to you, Fargy. You have a great rest of your day, and we out. Peace.